TalkShoe Live. This episode is being recorded and streamed live on TalkShoe.com. This episode is also being streamed to the following platforms: YouTube Live. You are joining the online studio. Your line is muted. You can unmute yourself by pressing *6 on your phone.
One of my YouTube followers, and it's called Power to the Truth. And I just love the way he starts out all of his broadcasts. He says, power to the truth. And so I think that that's very appropriate for what we're here gathering and seeking and learning about. And it's just wonderful that we're on this journey together. So let me ask the people in the chat, can you hear us? Can you hear us? And then I'll go ahead and get okay, you have sound, great. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and announce the show and we'll get rolling because I have a lot in store, and it's gonna be very eye-opening. Welcome to Campfire Chats with Margo. This is Thursday, July 26th, 2018. Tonight we're going to be discussing abrupt climate change, extreme weather, near-term human extinction, and other topics that are related. If you'd like to call in and talk with us, the number is, in the U.S., 605-562-0444, and the call ID is 144865#. And I just have a few ground rules that I want to lay down before we get going. Trolls will not be tolerated. Please keep political comments to a minimum. No hopium, and in case people don't know what hopium is, we're going to talk about that too. Hopium is hope plus opium, and that's where we come up with hopium. And no hopium, please, as we realize that any prescriptions or solutions to the climate crisis should have been implemented decades ago. This show is about you, your feelings, and how you're dealing with the great changes that are upon us. We're all in this together, so let's respect and support each other. And I'm going to start out with a few headlines, and then we'll get going. The first headline that I'm going to read is from Bloomberg News, and I'm sure, I don't know if everybody has seen this yet, but I'll just hit the highlights. It's like, you know, the latest on everything that's going on. Heat wave, the global heat wave is about to hit your wallet. Scorching weather across the globe makes fields too dry for crops, rivers too warm to cool power plants, and leaves wind turbines idle, and it's pushing commodity prices higher. And then they talk about the heat wave across North America, Europe, and Asia, coupled with worsening drought in some areas, is causing spikes in the prices of anything from wheat to electricity. Cotton plants are stunted in parched Texas fields. French rivers are too warm to effectively cool nuclear reactors, and the Russian wheat crop is faltering. Now, did you get all of that? Did you get that one little blurb in there? The rivers are too warm to effectively cool nuclear reactors. That's the most important phrase. And then the article goes on and on and on. But to me, that's the most important phrase that's just slipped in there, that they're not going to be able to keep those nuclear reactors cool. And what that means is nuclear meltdown. And so time is short. That's all I can say. And I'm not going to read the rest of this article because I hit that. And that's like right in line with everything else I've been talking about. And the final straw, I think, is going to be the nuclear, because that's just, we can't control that big meltdown. Okay, the next headline, as wave sweeps the globe, New study warns of deadly link between rising temperatures and suicide. And I had some people send me, I'm getting emails from people and they're saying, oh, make sure you share this in the show and share that. So I am sharing some of these things. And this is a YouTube video, and I'm not going to share that because I don't want to get a copyright strike when it goes up on YouTube. But I will leave the links in the show description when I archive it on YouTube. But basically, the study says that as it gets hotter, people, the rate of suicides tend to rise. And so you can just expect that that's going to happen as the world keeps getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And you know, I don't advocate one way or the other. I think people have to make a choice. But this is, you know, these are talking points that we can talk about when, you know, when you're on the line today. Okay, the next one I got was someone emailed me and said, clip below is Dr. Beckwith today, and that was from his video about the Arctic, the last one with the Arctic. And here's a quote from the video. As of today, we've lost all Arctic sea ice thicker than 2 meters, and what's left is being churned up by strong cyclone and undergoing rapid melt with almost Okay, I'm back. Is everyone there? They crashed my computer right in the middle of that, and I'm on the phone. Can you hear me, Robin?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I meant to say that at the beginning that, you know, whenever I go live, the powers that be like to, and they just crashed my computer again. I have such a great show lined up, and I learned how to screen share, and I didn't realize it was going to be streaming to YouTube, but it is streaming to YouTube. And of course, they don't want anything going out, so I'm just going to have to do this from the phone. It looks like as long, and it's just they just crashed my computer again. Once they start, it just keeps going and going and going. So, Robin, I guess it's you and me, and then if other people come into the studio and can talk, you know, they can talk. In order, if you want to mute yourself, if you're on the phone and you want to mute yourself, it's *6, and if you want to unmute yourself, it's *6. And I know Marcia's going to be calling in on the phone. Is Marcia here yet? Because I can't see the online studio. Robin, you can see the online. You're in the studio, right?
Well, yeah, I'm in a totally different screen at the moment. But
can you see the participants? Can you click
no,
on
I
that?
can't. No, I can't see anything like that. It seemed to drop it, and then I was sort of looking around to get back, and I couldn't. And so I've got this. It's basically just a sort of generic page. It's got Dropbox for Gmail, etc. So I couldn't find my way back. I'd have to go out of here to do that. And
no, just stay where you're at, because at least I've got you, and I know it's recording. And if anybody else comes in on the phone, and I know they will, they're going to be unmuted, and they can just start talking. It's fine. So I guess it's just you and me right now, Robin.
Oh, wow. Good thing I got in early, wasn't it?
Until I can get this back up, my computer's up. I'm going to let it load up. Let me open my notes, and I'll go ahead and go over some more of my notes, and then we'll have some talking points, and we'll just go from there. How's that?
Yeah. But
I had so many great things to screen share.
Yeah.
And I was going to screen share a whole bunch of sea ice stuff, and that last website that I sent you with the sea ice thickness, that I found. I was going to screen share that, and a whole bunch of stuff. But that's okay. That's okay. It might be for another time. So I knew this might happen, and at least I can get in on the phone. So, okay, so where were we? Okay, we were talking about Paul Beckwith and saying that the sea ice is less than 2 meters, and the one that I sent, the website that I sent you, and in the picture, it shows the sea ice is really 1 meter and less, and it's just churning up. It's churning up. And then the other one, someone sent me a YouTube video. It was a clip of Dr. Noam Chomsky from last week, and he was giving a talk on where we are with everything. And basically he was saying that humans are an immature species. That's exactly what I was saying last time, and that's where I talked about the Velikovsky information and stuff like that. And then hopium, to go a little bit more into hopium, and I kind of went over that with Roblin Crawford, the admin of that Facebook group that I moderate, Abrupt Climate Change, because some of the posts we have to deny because they offer all these solutions that are just not viable at this point, or it's and the way she describes it is it's hopium plus opium, and it to make the word hopium, and it basically is something that defies the concrete scientific and political knowledge. And I think that's separate from spiritual views. But what do you think about that, Robin?
Yeah, well, I've just been noticing, I think I posted something yesterday. I mean, it's absolutely incredible the amount of denial and that they're using what I would call sophistry to deny that what's happening right across the northern hemisphere has anything to do with climate change. They talk about it could be partially climate change, but it's other causes like the jet stream, as if the jet stream has nothing to do with with the melting of the ice, and so
and it has nothing to do with the heat and all of the crops failing and all of that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they report it, but then they report it, without any context.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, I'm back in the online studio, and it looks like we have some more people in the studio. We have guests. We have 719 in the studio. Hello, 719. I'm not sure who that is. Can you tell me who you are so I know that this is Margo and you're on Campfire Chats? Caller from area code 719. Are you there? Would you like to introduce yourself? Guess not. I guess they're just listening right now. Well, I'm happy to have them listening. And I see Marcia. She's viewing. Hi, Marcia. How are you tonight? And we have some other unnamed guests in the chat room. And so we've got participants, we've got chat, and so far, Robin, is just you and me wanting to talk. So, uh-oh, he dropped. He dropped. I'll bet something happened. I'll bet he dropped. We all have technical difficulties when things are going on here. Yep, sounds back. Sultan Bev is guest 2. And, yeah, you lost the sound. It wasn't your fault. It's because my computer crashed. And I wasn't here. And now I've called in on the phone. And so I'm just going to stay on the phone so that if my computer crashes, at least, I can run the show on the phone. So can you hear me now okay, Sultan Bev? You can just type that into the chat room. Okay, great. You can hear me. How old is my computer? It's a rebuilt one. I've only had it a couple of years, and it's got everything it needs. Okay. Is that you, Robin? There you are. You're on video.
Oh dear. Yes, I think we discovered it about the same time. I'm lying in bed, so I'm only half visible. I don't know how that happened.
Well, you're here. I'm happy to have you here. So you were talking about how the media is not reporting that things are climate change and it's all this other stuff. They'll talk all around the topic, but they won't say, "Oh yes, it's climate change" or anything dire, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised that you've had difficulty, that you've been dropped, probably on YouTube, because they really, I've come to the conclusion just the past few days that they really don't want this talked about at all. And, when you've got publications like The Guardian putting out what I consider, abrupt climate change. I mean, I've always gone to The Guardian as a source of reliable information about climate change. And then suddenly I'm seeing all this other stuff coming from that platform. And it's really surreal,
It is. It's very surreal. It's like living in two different worlds where the information is being so suppressed, but it's public. It's in the public domain. I mean, just like that Navy website that I had to research on my own, and the guy never responded to me. Never responded. He gave me a thumbs up on my comments, but never responded with his source. And I don't know why people are so so tight with their sources. And another thing that bothers me is how, somebody will go on and do a show and they have all these sources, but they don't do links below of where it came from so that you can go check it out for yourself. And I always put the links to everything that I use because, I want people to do their own research and find out and really see. I think it's much worse than anyone is telling us. And I think that they're suppressing it because they don't want people to realize how bad it is, and because they would get up in arms, and I think that people would start rebelling and revolting.
Yeah.
And it's all about control and who's in control of the information. And I think it's all about the truth, and the truth will set you free, but you have to know what the truth is. And you have to discern what's coming through. And just because it's out there doesn't mean it's the truth. You have to discern, and you have to sift, and you have to cross-reference, and, it's a whole thing. It's not easy. It's not easy at all, is it? Now, you've been at this research for a long time, right?
Yeah, well, what I've noticed is over time is that Guy McPherson, who I've followed for a few years, always cites the research. Everything he has to say, he's got data to back it up. Whereas you listen to some of these other establishment figures like Michael Mann, all they're giving you is their own authority. They never cite any piece of research or anything. We're just supposed to believe what they say. They're telling us what to think, essentially.
Right. They're interpreting everything for us, and it's not a right interpretation. And it's not like we're idiots. I mean, we have brains and we can figure things out. It's just like when I go to cams and look at methane spewing up all over the place. I know red and black are not good.
Yeah,
you know what
that's
I mean?
right. Yeah.
Red and black are not good when it comes to methane. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out.
You sure don't.
So I've been meaning to ask you, how did you come up with the name of your blog, See More Rocks? I've been trying to ask you that.
That's a very easy one. If I've got a horse who I've had for 12, 13 years, and that's his racing name.
Oh, really? He used to, do you still race him, or
No. He's never raced. Thank goodness. He's a failed racehorse, and that was probably to his benefit. But he was given that name, Seymour Rocks.
Oh, how funny. So
Actually, he's called Biscuit.
Biscuit, yeah. So, do you ride him very much?
No, unfortunately, not now. I haven't been able to ride for a wee while, but.
Oh, I love horses.
Yeah.
I was born in the Chinese Year of the Horse.
Oh wow! Well, that explains it. They're they're very, very special animals.
I love horses. I'm allergic to them. I'm allergic to horses and cows and feathers and dogs and cats.
Yeah.
Ragweed and marijuana and I mean, you name it. I'm allergic to it, and unfortunately, I think I'm just allergic to Earth anymore. But that happens. I just think that as you get older, your immune system says, "Oh, I don't think I can handle that anymore." So it's just the way it goes. I'm going to log into YouTube and see what's going on over there.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't realize we were going to be streaming over there, and that's probably why it dropped. But I probably have a huge audience over there right now. We'll see what's going on. And see if we are live streaming. Oh, yeah, we're live streaming. And live stream. We've got live stream help, and Okay, I need to change my title. Campfire. Uh-oh, I better spell it right. I misspelled my name last night. I spelled it Marug. So I was Marug, not Margo. Okay, and oh, they crashed my computer. See, just as soon as I was getting into YouTube to see what was going on. But I'm still on the phone. You can still hear me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, your screen probably, I don't know if your screen fell off or not. You're probably okay, but so let's keep going. So what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about any of those talking points that I brought up?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, you're the only one
Oh,
on the
right.
line talking, so
Yeah, okay.
unless the 719 person would like to talk.
Yeah, sometimes my brain
I
just
hear
goes
him
blank.
laughing. I would like to know who 719 is since you're over there laughing.
Mouthful.
What? I didn't understand that. I got one word and I didn't understand it. So let's just go on, Robin.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that article about more suicides as it gets hotter?
Yeah, well, it just sort of came across my bow. I can't sort of go into all the articles in great detail, but I mean, there's nothing there that surprises me. And it's such a rapid and extreme change. I mean, if you're living in somewhere like Britain or Ireland and you have these terrible, um, heat waves, it is going to drive some people to suicide, especially when their health is compromised.
Mhm. That's absolutely, because it's like what do you have to live for? And but
Yeah.
for me personally, I don't think that's in the cards. And I think everyone considers it sooner or later, especially if they have health problems or have had a brush with death or anything like that. And
Yes.
I've had I've had my ups and downs with my health. I'm pretty okay right now, but my energy level is low, and I don't have anything that the doctors can diagnose. I just think my DNA is unwinding from all the toxins in the atmosphere. And I'm in Nevada, and we got a whole bunch of that Fukushima radiation.
Yeah.
We get it. And I mean, I was out gardening, when Fukushima hit, and I'm sure that it just came right across, and my DNA is unwinding. What can I say? It's just not coming back the way it should. And it's just what happens. It's a symptom of life. It's a symptom of being here. And I don't think that and my website, margoshealingcorner.com, and I became a green living coach and all this stuff. But once I got into all this abrupt climate change and everything, I realized that we get to the point where there's no healing physically from all of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can get healing spiritually and emotionally and mentally. And so there are different kinds of healing. And so people need to reframe all of that, and they don't, because most people say, well, I want to be healed, and they talk about physical healing, but there's so much more, and we are so much more than just the physical.
Well, what we need is spiritual healing right now.
Absolutely. And for me, I don't think taking myself out is in the cards. I may change my mind as time goes on, And frankly, I think Dr. Kevorkian was doing a great service,
Yes.
and we're going to need more people like Dr. Kevorkian as things collapse more and more. And I think that it would be good if the governments would recognize some of this, because one of the huge problems is the growing population on the planet.
Yeah.
And, the countries with the huge populations are not really doing anything to keep more people from coming into the world. And so until that happens, until they put a curb on population growth, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's one of the huge roots of the problem, and there's not enough. The politicians won't get behind it. Nobody will get behind it. We're on our own, dude. We're on our own. Is that
Yeah.
what you found?
Absolutely. And I was just thinking, I just had a thought before, not about suicide, but about deaths from these heat waves. And I see that in Montreal, they were able to say that so many people had died, but in other parts of Canada, they're not reporting it, even though there's a spike in deaths, during these heat waves. They're just not reporting it.
Mhm. That's unfortunate, isn't it?
It's hugely unfortunate. And I think what I find, I mean, I can almost kind of reach a sort of acceptance of the situation, but what still continues to do my head in really is the denial.
Mhm.
I think that really bothers me.
Yeah. So, how do you deal with people when you're trying to interact with them and they're in such denial? Because we all have this problem, and this is one of the reasons I started this series back up, is so we could kind of talk about how we're dealing with our
Yeah.
own situations.
Yeah, well, I suppose I just continue on and I put the information out, and if someone wants to listen, they'll listen. If they don't, well, that's their prerogative.
Yeah. Well,
Hey,
your
I'm afraid
blog.
I've got a problem here. That I'm sitting here and my battery's going down, so
Uh-oh.
it's up. Yeah.
Uh-oh, I'm
So
going to lose you.
so probably what I've got to do is get up and get the cord and connect it up to the electricity.
Okay. Well, in the
So
meantime,
so
I will
I'll be
do some.
gone for a few minutes.
Okay, take your time. I'm back online, and I'm back in the studio. I'm going to do some screen sharing, and so we'll see you when you come back. Okay? All right. You just got to be adaptable. Just got to be adaptable no matter what happens. So I'm going to do some screen sharing here, and let me get my applications up. Oh, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get okay, everyone just sit tight, because I have some great information for everyone tonight. Okay. Now I'm sharing my screen. Uh-oh, it's frozen. Something's frozen. I'm trying to share the screen, but now everything's freezing up. I know it's because all that crap's going on YouTube over there, and it's just overloading everything. Can people see my picture of the world? Can you see that?
Yep.
Oh, great. Awesome. So
what you're looking at is from Climate Reanalyzer from today, and it's the snow and sea ice cover from today, July 26th, and you can see how it's diminished even more on the west side in the Arctic. And now I'm going to go, I have a slideshow lined up for you here. And this is from the Sea Ice Data Center. This is the sea ice concentration from yesterday. They're a day behind. And you can see where it's darker, that's less concentration. And it's really going down a lot on that western side. You can see that. And now I'm going to go to the next picture. This is from a different website, and it's another way of measuring the sea ice concentration. And you can see it's more concentrated around here in the center, but it's losing around the edges very quickly. And then this is my treat for everyone. I was looking for this website literally for weeks, and this is from a Navy military website, and this is the sea ice thickness, and this is from today, July 26, 2018, and this is the website that was in Paul Beckwith's video, and I also have the animated GIF and the whole website and how to get there, and I've got all of that to share with you guys tonight. And I found it today. I'd spent hours and hours and hours searching and searching and searching, and I contacted people. Robin was the only one that got back with me, and he didn't even have the source to it. And the guy who had put it up that Paul Beckwith even referred to in his video, I contacted him, and he wouldn't even get back with me. So this is what I'm saying. The data is out there. It's public information, and people are stingy with sharing their sources. And, you know, the truth is out there. And this is like, the Internet is like the printing press that came out. And before the printing press, we were in the dark ages, and the ones who were the elites were the ones who had all of the information, and they would just keep it to themselves and then dole out what they wanted the people to have. But, you know, we didn't know what the truth was. But once the printing press came out, then books started being published, and information was made available to people that was not made available before. And then as this happened, it stimulated people to think and to open their minds to new possibilities and new worlds and all these new ways of doing things. And it actually, without the printing press, we wouldn't be where we are today. And the Internet is like the printing press, and all the information is out there, and I don't think to hide it or to keep it back from anyone, especially if it's in public domain. You know, people should be willing to share their research and their information freely so that we can make up our minds for ourselves. So we can see the chart here, and this is the North Pole, and this is as of today. This is the sea ice thickness. And down here at the bottom, the white is 0. And then, like this mid-violet is half a meter. This is in meters thick. So this violet color around here, that's like half a meter thick. Now, a meter is a little over 3 feet. So half a meter is like 1.5 feet. With me? A little over 1.5 feet of ice. And then when you start getting into the blue, that's 1 meter. And so you have parts where it's blue, see that? And little parts, so that's 1 meter. And then when it goes up into like the aqua areas, that's 2 meters. And so here we have 2-meter ice right on the northern part of Greenland, and this is the old ice, the multi-year ice, and that will be the last to go. And then we've got a little more ice up here on this northern edge, and I'm going to blow this up for you so that you can really get an idea of what we're dealing with here. This is very serious. I'm thinking we are going to hit an ice-free Arctic. We've got 2 more months of ice melt. It keeps melting until about September 23rd. So really, we have 2 more months of ice melt, people. And this is not looking good. It's not looking good at all. And this is the best website. And of course it would be. It's the Navy military website. And when I finally found it and went to it, I even had a hard time getting in because my browser wouldn't let me in. It said, oh, the certificate is not secure. Do you really want to go there? And I'm like, yes, I want to go there. And so I had to make my browser go there. So there you have it. So that's what I'm saying. So I've been looking at these pictures. I'm going to go back to the studio now.
Can I just come in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because a lot of I was sort of following other sites like the Nevin Sea Ice blog, and a lot of people are talking about the sea ice extent.
Mm-hmm.
And the sea ice extent is nothing sort of, to talk about it. It's actually quite large. And my understanding, someone would need to correct me if I'm wrong, but the sea ice extent is really a reflection, perhaps, of what's happening in the atmosphere and to the weather. So, if there are a lot of storms and there's a lot of warm weather, then that ice will melt. But what this is reflecting, and that green area at the bottom of the picture is reflecting that's all the old multi-year ice that's left.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
all the rest is being melted from below, from the very warm waters, and not by what's happening in the atmosphere. That I think I'm right about that.
Well, you're right, and it's being warmed from above and below.
Yeah.
And let me find my bookmarks. I knew someone was going to want to talk about this, and I really am not good with Google Chrome yet. Find it. I'm so not educated on Google Chrome. But yeah, the extent means the ice is just further out, but it doesn't mean how thick it is or how concentrated it is, and it can be a little skim, or it's just an area that's frozen, and they count anything that's frozen as a part of the extent of the sea ice. And then there's concentration, and then there's thickness. So we have really three different things going on. And I found a really good explanation of that on the National Sea Ice website. So let me see if I can pull that up. Let me just do a search here. Sea ice extent. Here it is. It's not telling me. I'm gonna change my screen sharing. I'm gonna stop that one, and now I'm gonna go. to Google Chrome. Okay. Here. Okay. This is the website that talks a lot about extent and concentration. Okay, let's do a search up here. Sea ice, extent, and concentration. Now let's see what comes up. Terminology, that's what we want. Extent and concentration. I don't know if that's... And I bookmarked it over in Firefox, but I'm sure if I start messing around with my browsers, they'll crash me, so I don't want to risk it. Data terminology. Here we go. Okay, the area. When we use this term, we mean the region covered by sea ice, typically given in square kilometers. For a grid cell, it's the area of the portion of the cell covered by ice. For an entire hemisphere, it's the total area covered by ice, which corresponds to the sum of the area of each cell multiplied by the fractional concentration for that cell. Okay, here's concentration. Concentration is a unitless term that describes the relative amount of area covered by ice compared to the same reference area. So it doesn't have to all be frozen. It's like the area can have a chunk here and a chunk there, but they take it all in a certain area and mix it, calculate it. Thus, concentration describes how much of a 25 kilometer by 25 kilometer or 15.5 mile by 15.5 mile box is covered by sea ice. Ice concentration typically is reported as a percentage of 0 to 100% ice, a fraction from 0 to 1, or sometimes in tenths of 0 tenths to 10 tenths. Our sea ice index products show ice concentration in a percentage. A value of 0 means that there is no ice, while a value of 100 means the region is completely covered by ice. Extent defines a region as either ice-covered or not ice-covered. For each data cell, it is a binary term. Either the cell has ice, usually of a value of 1, or the cell has no ice, usually a value of 0. A threshold determines this labeling. A typical threshold is 15%, meaning that if the data cell has greater than 15% ice concentration, the cell is labeled as ice covered. The sea ice index products have a threshold of 15%. A threshold can also be as high as 30%. Extent is sometimes described in terms of area in square kilometers covered by at least some ice above the threshold. Extent is different from the total area in that if a given region has a percentage of ice concentration greater than the threshold, the entire region is considered ice covered. Total area tells how much of the region is actually covered by ice. Arctic or Antarctic-wide sea ice extent is always a larger number than area. Did you understand that? Did you understand that, Robin?
Well, I only picked up some of what you were reading because my computer gave out and I had to sort of come back in the middle of that.
Okay, so
but it's fairly opaque.
Right. So so that's their explanation, and it's hard to really understand, and that's why I like looking at the different pictures and the different things, because it's all a comparison. It's all a big comparison in my book. So I'm going to close that tab out. Now I'm just going to start sharing some of my tabs with everyone. we're going to look at concentration. This is a really good one. Not sure. I think you shared this one with me, Robin. This is a good website. This is from the University of Bremen. Sea ice remote sensing. I think you put this on your blog, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, here's Arctic sea ice concentration, and the way they have it on this view here is they just go from white being 100% and then down. The black is 50%, and then blue is the ocean. So that's what they have there. And then this one on the right, let me click on it because it doesn't all show up. Their scale, the green, like this green that goes down to blue is 25% concentration, and then this green is 50, then the yellow is 75, and then the red is probably about 80, and then the purple is like 90, and the dark purple is 100. So the most is right around here, right around the North Pole. But you know, it's hard to even know when they say percentage and all of that. It's hard to know. And then the next one is this military website. See, connection is not private. This is what I have to go through. Advanced. Yes, proceed. Here we go. And if 719 is not wanting to talk, I'm going to mute you so that we don't have background noise. Okay, here's the military website. And this is the Arctic view. And this is, when you click on it, that has the current day. Now, when we go back, if you can run the last 30 days, and it will run it forecast to, I think it's the next 5 days, to like August the 2nd. Well, it's still coming through. Maybe it's someone else. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, you see that running through?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting? So it starts back on July the 5th, and it runs through August the 2nd. And I can't stop it. This is their automated animation. But you can see the huge loss of ice just in this 1 month. It's a 30-day animation. Isn't that something?
Yeah. Just on looking, it looks, if you compare the NSIDC thing on ice concentration with what you just showed from the University of Bremen, they seem to contradict each other slightly.
I know. The University of Bremen looks so much thicker.
Yeah.
But this is from the U.S. Navy military website. So here you go.
And then the U.S. Navy, if I'm right, from Guy, they're the ones who were predicting that there was going to be an ice-free Arctic in 2016, which is interesting.
Give or take 3 years, right?
Yeah,
but
that,
years, right? And so we're still in that 3-year period.
Yeah. But I mean, they were the ones who made that
Yeah.
prediction. Yeah.
Well, then I think they would know.
Yeah.
They would know. And I sent you. did you see that PDF file I sent you?
Not yet, but I'll
Yeah.
get round to it.
It's chilling reading. That's for the next show. That's also from the Navy. They have
Yeah.
big plans on the Arctic. They've got everything planned out. They're not waiting around. So we're going to let that go. Let me see.
Yeah, I think the Pentagon know better than anybody else.
I think they know.
Yeah.
And that could be why that guy was not wanting to share the website with me too. You know.
Yeah.
I don't really want to know. I don't really know. I just have no clue. So, Robin, I'm curious, how long have you been into all this climate research?
Well, I mean, I got back into it in 2012 when I first came across Guy McPherson, and are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I invited him to New Zealand. Well, he was coming to New Zealand, and he gave a talk to us locally. So it's really sort of since then, and I started the blog about a year before that, but to begin with, I was mostly concentrated on peak oil. But of course, my area has changed since then. But I've always been aware of this since it sort of came into the public view in 2008. And I think what really persuaded me that things were really not good was COP15 in Copenhagen. When the police were running down climate activists. And then, of course, coming across Guy just confirmed what I already felt in my heart, I think.
I'm just showing some things from Climate Reanalyzer here. This 2-meter temperature anomaly is something else, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look at this whole thing going up into Alaska. I mean, it's like everything is just heating up. Oh, let's look at the Antarctic. Look at this. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That whole eastern side is all red. Oh, and that's where, did you see my latest video where I showed where the ozone hole is growing? Right over here? I think it corresponds, and it's growing over here, too. And I think it totally corresponds with this higher temperature. What do you think?
I've got no ideas about that. I don't really understand if there is a connection between the ozone hole and climate change or not. But what I would like to say is about Australia. I mean, in Australia, they're right in the middle of winter.
Yeah,
and
look at all that
they've got
brown
this
up there.
devastating drought. The farmers are asking for permission to shoot their sheep.
Oh, that's awful.
It is. And here in New Zealand, where I live, we're getting temperatures. I mean, I woke up sweating in bed last night, and it's the middle of winter. The temperatures are way up. Especially the minimum temperatures.
Yeah, that's crazy. So
it is crazy.
Do you live on the northern or the southern?
Yeah, right at the bottom of the North Island.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm looking at it right now on Climate Reanalyzer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where the capital is.
I'll bet it's beautiful there.
Oh,
there's
very.
Not a drought. Yeah.
Yes.
Have you lived there long?
I've lived in Wellington for 30 years. Before that, I was in the South Island, Christchurch.
Oh, okay. And are you from Ireland originally?
No, I'm not. No, my ancestors are. No, I was born and bred, 5th generation.
So where were you born?
No, I was born in New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, so we're looking here, and Is there a cyclone over the Arctic right now? Right here?
Yeah. As
That's
of
what I
yesterday,
thought.
the southeast of Greenland.
Oh, right here. That
Yeah,
area?
yeah.
Yeah, we can see that. That's churning things up. Oh, did you see my climate cast where I showed methane coming up out of Iceland?
Wow.
Uh-huh. Methane coming up out of Iceland. That blew my mind. I'm
Yeah,
like, what
yeah.
the hell is methane doing coming up out of Iceland? I've never seen that before.
No, I don't think they're fracking.
No, it's probably from permafrost
Yeah.
melting or, natural stuff. Some kind of natural stuff. Go down. Oh, I wanted to show you something. I saw this today. Look. Do you see the sea ice
Oh,
going
wow.
out? Isn't that something? This is
Yeah.
at the Arctic. What do you think that is?
But it's breaking off, is it? I really don't know.
It looks, well, no, it looks to me like it's freezing further out in pieces
Yes, yes.
because, let's go back. I'll show you, because some of these temperatures are lower than normal. See, we're
Yes.
on the temperature anomaly, and it's crazy because over the island, over the mainland, and over here, it's higher than normal, and then in the ocean, it's much lower than normal. See that purpley is like minus 20 Celsius lower than normal, and like the blue is minus 10 lower than normal. So I'm wondering if that's causing it to freeze further out. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think what you're seeing there is the waviness of the jet stream, probably.
Yeah,
But the
probably.
thing that you pointed out about sea ice concentration in Antarctica is absolutely incredible.
Oh, yeah, let's look there. Let's go there. In fact, we can go there on that military website. Did you see these holes?
Yeah, yeah,
That flipped me out when I saw those holes. Uh-oh. Um, I wanted, if you hit download, uh-oh, I just want to look at the picture. When didn't do what I wanted to do. When I'm in Firefox, it just makes the picture go bigger.
mm.
Oh, there it is. Well, there it is. So, can you see that? Where I zoomed in on I may need to change my screen share. Hang on. Hang on. I'm going to switch what I'm screen sharing real quick. Here we go. Okay. You see that? It's the
Yep.
South Pole. And I'm going to blow it up a little bit. Now they've got holes even in the ice there. See, they've got holes even up by the coast. That implies to me that it's warmer around the coast and it's just not freezing.
Yeah.
Or maybe those glaciers are melting and running off and making it not as frozen too. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it's mind-blowing because just until about a year ago, everyone was saying that talking about the ice extent in Antarctica as being, greater than, anywhere before, and that seemed like a contradiction. And suddenly last year, you just had this collapse.
Right.
And I mean, that's obviously what we're seeing
Right.
in this picture.
And
I'd never seen this before.
Yeah, I know. And they're in the middle of winter. It's supposed to be growing.
Yeah.
And so this is a prime example of why extent and concentration are not the same. And because extent goes way out, see, but the concentration is just not there. It's just not there.
And Antarctica was a classic example of, you had this huge sort of ice extent, but at the same time, the ice was melting from underneath. And that's
right.
I've known that for several years. When people were still talking about this huge sort of sea ice extent.
So it's misleading because they say, "Oh, well, we got more sea ice than we've ever had," and it's like, no, we don't.
Yeah.
That's not the right way to interpret it. It's seriously not the right way. So let me get back to. I'm going to find just for the fun of it. Let me load it up and then I'll share. But you can keep looking at that sea ice extent while I'm loading up, okay? Okay. Stop sharing. And now I have my screen loaded up, and I'm going to share, go back, window, to share, and here it is. Now this is this is actually where you want to go in. This is that Navy military website again. If you want to see the Arctic, that's where we were. If you want to see the Beaufort Sea, you can click there. If you want to see the Antarctic, we can go there. So let's just go there. And now, and see, you can see all these different things. And what is this? Sea surface. I forget what the H is. Do you know what that is? SSH?
Yeah, no, not very good with that, but yes.
Okay. SST is sea surface temperature. SSS, I don't know what that is. Here's the ice concentration. You want to see that?
Yeah.
Arctic? There you go. There's the ice concentration. So it looks pretty concentrated according to this one.
But that's very schematic.
Let's look at the thickness. That's what we want to look at, right?
Yeah.
The thickness is shocking.
Wow, that is amazing.
Isn't that something? I saw this morning, like, oh my God. Oh my God. It's like, okay, the white is 0, and this purple, this mid-purple, the violet, is 0.5 meter. That's the thickness. And then the blue is 1 meter. 1 meter. And then the aqua is right around 2 meters, like here. And then you've got the greeny yellow is 3.5 meters, and you've only got one little area with that, and that's over by the Larsen Ice Shelf.
Yeah.
Blew my mind. Freaking blew my mind.
Yeah. Well, that brings that brings to mind for me something that happened, I think, about a year and a half ago. There was a program on our Radio New Zealand, which at the very time when they were starting to get worried about Antarctic ice, they had the headlines were Antarctic ice is not melting like the Arctic. And then they had this woman at the university who was quite good actually, but one of the things that she said is that they couldn't measure the sea ice thickness. Well, this seems right to that. I mean, how did they get these figures?
They have their ways.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can measure all this crap on all these planets, often all these different solar systems, and can see like what kind of gases are on Arcturus, or wherever. Yeah. By God, they can measure sea ice thickness on Earth. That's all there is to it.
Or water on Mars,
Absolutely. I'm telling you, we're just being kept in the dark about so many things. So my new slogan is power to the truth.
Yep.
Let's know the truth. I just want the facts. I just want to know the truth, and then let me discern it for myself. Don't interpret it for me. Just let me discern it. And if I need some help with understanding the graphs or how to read it or understand the science behind it, that's one thing. But what's the bottom line? What does it mean? And then I can figure out what it means for me.
Yeah, I would like to have some guidance on why the different satellites, seem to be coming up with different data.
I know. Or, why maybe some of it's just being blocked out. Maybe they just say, well, we don't. That's not for public knowledge.
Or maybe the equipment is of different sensitivity, or they're measuring different things in a different way.
I don't know.
But I think this information for me on Antarctica is the most mind-blowing stuff. What I'm seeing in the screen in front of me, I just was not aware of in any way.
No, that's why I wanted to show you this. And I'm really glad that you started that new Facebook group, Climate Change in the Antarctic.
Yeah, you were to blame for that.
I know, it's my fault.
All your fault.
I got you going on that. Well, this is what I'm saying. This is how it works, because I shared something with you, you share something with me. The information should be free, and then we each have our own take on it, and then we can interpret and go and do our own research, and then come back and say, wow, look what I found. Have you ever considered this? And you'll say no. Or you say, yeah. Oh, and remember that there's that volcano down here, Mount Erebus, that's emitting constantly. It's on the Ross Island. It's emitting constantly, that sulfur dioxide. It's going off all the time. It's been emitting for over 1 million years, or however long it's been there. I don't remember. That's got to be having an effect.
What I like is that none of us are experts. We're looking at it with a beginner's eye, and I find that quite wholesome.
I think we have less. I call it the belief reality cap. I think we have less bias and less preconceived notions because we haven't been educated by the system, so to speak, and so we're already outside of the box, and we're already thinking outside of the box and thinking of other possibilities that the people who are brought up in the system it's like their thought processes are just in that certain space and they can't go outside.
Yeah.
And when they're challenged, it's like no, they can't even go there. So this is the 30-day animated station. So it is growing. You can see that it is growing. I wish I could pause it or stop it or something, but I can't. It's just the way this is. Isn't that interesting? And then the Larsen ice shelf is right up here. And it's really small compared to everything else.
Yeah.
And then that Pine Island Glacier is right here. And that's the one that's melting so fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else you want to look at?
Uh, yeah,
Name
can't
it, I'll
quite.
pull it up.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Now this is something I haven't really looked at. This is speed and drift.
Yeah.
So it shows you how the ocean is moving, and so you can see how the ice would be moving and forming. I don't know anything about this. I mean, I absolutely know nothing. I'm just
No.
showing pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if anybody who has a scientific mind, they can figure that one out. But you can see stuff is going on down there, whether we're aware of it or not. So there's that. So this is the portal where you can go in to these three. And so I'm actually going to copy this and put it in my show notes
Yeah.
so that we can make sure and get that link up there for everyone. That's the one it took me hours to find.
Wow. That's amazing.
No, it is. It really is. It just blows me away. So, go back. Wow, we've got a lot of people just who've left the call. And guest 2 is still, that's Sultan Bev. She's from the UK. Let's see what Sultan Bev has to say. She is, I don't know if it's a she or a he, Sultan Bev. I just assume it's a she. Anyway, she's got a scientific background. I'm going to read her comments because they're really good. The Guardian is very good on environmental stuff, but it's run by neoliberals, just like the rest of the UK newspapers. She's commenting on the article I was reading. That it's not your immune system failing as we get older, it's the accumulation of toxins from all the crap we pump into the air and water that depresses the immune system. And I tell you, I constantly cleanse, and you wouldn't believe what I do to keep my insides as clean as possible. Okay, she says that's one of the things about climate change is that it won't appear on the death certificates. It will say heat stroke, natural causes, suicide, drowned in the flood, whatever. That's true. The ice extent, oh, she knows about this, is the area the ice cover goes out to, the bit that melts and refreezes. So you may have more sea ice extent, but we know it's thinner, so there's actually less ice. That's true. You can imagine if the ice is thin, the sea currents and winds will move it about more, so you can get greater sea ice extent. Right. The U.S. military probably had better quality satellites than the civilian ones. Right. Yes, it was the U.S. military that predicted the 2016 plus or minus 3 years for ice-free Arctic. Great. The U.S. Navy watched the ice because it means they can spot Russian subs easier if the ice melts and perhaps run attack scenarios for war planning. And we found out Sultan Bev is Mark. Hi, Mark. So I guess you're a guy. Hello. That's funny. I thought Bev meant Beverly. Thank you.
I think Mark should unmute himself.
I think so. I just had a little electricity glitch on my fan in the window, but my computer stayed up. Hi, Mark. Nice to meet you. I'm very happy that you're here. Oh, we were chatting before the show started. He doesn't have microphone and stuff hooked up, but anyway. He goes, I'm not on the phone and don't have a microphone. Oh, how weird. What's going on? Something's going on with my fan. Or something. Something's coming on and going off, and I don't even know what it is. Well, maybe next time, Mark, you can have a headset and microphone hooked up, and we can talk. That would be awesome. It would just be awesome. So, what else do you want to look at?
Well, I just wanted to make a sort of comment. I suppose it's a countervailing one. Is I remember Jennifer Hines saying the other day in an interview that there's a lot of entropy in the system, and there's the whole thing about latent heat. It takes an awful lot of of heat to melt the ice.
Right.
Which if you've got a thing of frozen peas or something on the stove, but when it does go, it goes very quickly. So we might still be in that, in that stage throughout this season. I mean, we don't know. We just have to watch. But I mean, if it's not this year, it's probably next year.
It's and even if we do get very close to ice-free, it doesn't have to be all ice-free in order for all of the big catastrophes to start happening. I mean, we're seeing it now.
Exactly. Yeah, that's always been my point.
Saying, well, when we hit the blue ocean event, it's like, but nothing's going to happen before then.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing is going to change before then. It's going to be business as usual. Everything's going to be fine. But then once we hit that blue ocean, okay, now everything, it's going to be the day after tomorrow happen.
Yeah.
But no, it's happening now. That's the thing. It's happening now. So.
And then what's shocking in the Arctic is what happens in the winter. I mean, this last winter, I think there was melt, wasn't there?
Yeah, it melted a lot this last winter. A whole lot. Do I dare try to look at YouTube? Do I? I mean, I'm doing good right now, but do I dare look at YouTube? That's my question. I should. Okay, I'm gonna just put this back up to screen share for people to look at. Well, I'm gonna hop over to YouTube. Okay. And I'm still on the phone, so if my studio crashes, everybody will still be here. We'll still be online. I should see what's going on YouTube. I've just been talk. No telling who's saying what or what's going on or anything. I might have quite a few people watching right now. I might have no one. Oh my gosh, I've got all these people. I've got 12 watching over at YouTube. Oh my gosh, they've had a whole conversation over there without me. Okay. All right, I'm here. I'm here, YouTube, and let me go back through your comments. Oh, Spreading Rumors is here. It says 14 are watching now. Oh my God. And Rob Strick says, awesome. I don't need to save for retirement anymore. Party time. Okay. I hope all of you have been behaving yourselves. I hope you have, because I have not even looked at the chat. I haven't done anything. I've just been so busy with Robin. I hope you've enjoyed the show. And does anyone have anything? Oh my gosh, it's a huge chat going on. This is, I guess it's meant to be. I just guess it's meant to be that we're streaming live on YouTube. And I was going to try and turn off my streaming to YouTube, and I couldn't find it today. There's Valhalla. Hey, I'm doing a shout out. I'm just gonna give a shout out to everyone I see in the chat room. Marcia Norn, thank you for being here. Elizabeth, hi, welcome today. I feel like Daniel Ott on the edge, where he's giving a shout out to everyone in the chat room. Seda Key, hi, hello to you. And Sultan Bev is over there on YouTube, who we really know who that is. And Marsha's saying, Margo, when I called in, I was taken to a strange channel without being given the opportunity to put in the number for your show. That may have happened with others too. And Earth Angel, hey Earth Angel, thank you for being here. I love you being here and leaving nice comments on all my videos. Robin Data, the question is not whether, but when. Yes. Thank you, Robin Data, for being here. And Valhalla is commenting on the sea ice and saying yes. Let's see. Let's see. Valhalla says they have satellites that can read what your phone is displaying. Yeah, so they can measure the sea ice.
Yeah.
Trust me. And we have Daylene Grad. Thank you for joining us. And Valhalla has helped carry on the conversation. Oh, they're talking about Yellowstone being more active. And Wint James is here saying the Earth is flat. Well, you know, everyone has their own opinion. Les M., thanks for your thoughtful work, Margo. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Les, for commenting. And Gray Silverback, thanks for being here. He says thermal land expansion from the abnormal heat waves. They're still talking about Yellowstone. And Rob Strick says, I think we have until around 2030 before you have the end of humans. You have all these positive feedback loops, the methane in Russia and over Arctic areas. Yeah, it may take that long for all the humans to kind of dwindle down because, you know, it's a domino effect. It won't all happen instantly. And there are a lot of people who have prepped, and a lot of people are going to be in bunkers and different stuff. You know, I quit prepping, and I'm eating up all my prep supplies now. I don't care about surviving. Food shortage is coming, yeah. And Will's is here. Good time to stock up on food storage, especially good for baking in the oven. Well, if you don't have electricity, you can't bake it in the oven unless you've got, I've got a volcano stove. Not that I'm ever going to use it. It's part of my prepping. Video from chat.
Shut your door because Miles is using. Shutting the door because Miles is about to use the vacuum cleaner.
Oh, okay.
Are you going to be much longer?
I hope not.
No, that's all right.
Spreading Rumors says, have you run across any information regarding an increase in Earth's wobble due to the melting ice and shifting plates? I haven't. Have you, Robin?
No.
I don't really follow that, but I know that Guy McPherson, in my interview with him, I asked him if he felt like the volcanic activity over in Hawaii was due to global warming and abrupt climate change, and he said yes, absolutely, because as the sea ice melts, then the weight comes off of those tectonic plates, and so if it was weighing that plate down, then it comes up, and so it's going to shift the plates, and so it's going to shift on the other end, and it, you know, so everything affects everything else, basically. So that's how that goes. Valhalla says, hey, Margo. Rob Strick says, worry about retirement? No, now I don't have to worry about wetting my pants in a nursing home. No, we're just going to wet our pants when we see all this shit coming toward us. Sultan Bev says England is rising from the ice sheet in the ice age receding. ICM says if we have a methane bomb, prepping won't be useful for very long. And I go back to, we still have over 600 nuclear power plants and reactors that are active and retired all around the world that have to be babysat all around the world until the end. They have to be babysat, and if for whatever reason they can't be cooled, they're going to go. That's all there is to it, and there's not a damn thing we can do about that. Nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing. And so when, you know, people come up with these, quote, solutions and everything, they don't include all these things that are going to be going down when it heats up. Oh, Robin, I wanted to ask you, you know, there's a new, are you still there, Robin? Looks like Robin dropped. He'll get back. So I'm just winging it here. Okay, he had to sign off. Okay, well, thank you, Robin, for being here and being with me for so long. I really appreciate it. Let me go back to YouTube, and if anyone from YouTube wants to call in, thank you, Robin. You're signing off. Okay, everyone over at YouTube and in the chat room over at TalkShoe, there's this green movement that's using nuclear energy. They're calling it, they're considering it a clean energy, but they're using nuclear, and they're coming in and infiltrating the green. That's going to be one of the ways that they're going to transition through this hard time and get off of fossil fuels and all of that stuff. What do people think about that? I think it's a farce. I think it's bad, and there are some climate scientists who are actually backing that nuclear green movement. I don't understand unless they're paid to say that, or they want to keep their jobs, or I just don't understand that. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? Marcia says no to nuclear energy. Les M says nuclear is not green. And Sultan Bev says just laughable, total greenwashing. I agree. But, some of the climate scientists you listen to are supporting this nuclear green movement. I'm not kidding. In fact, when I put up my Novaya Zemlya video where I talk about the radiation from the nuclear tests, the bomb tests over the Arctic, I got some really hateful stuff that came through. You didn't see it on the comments because I didn't approve it, but there were ones that were just like, oh yeah, nuclear is good, and there's something wrong with you if you don't go nuclear. Looking at some more comments, Lysium says it uses a lot of concrete. Getting nuclear up and running takes incredible amounts of fossil fuels. That's correct. Nuclear-powered drilling rigs in the Arctic are now operational. That's correct. Concrete is a major carbon producer. That's correct. And the methane plumes off Novaya Zemlya will be radioactive. Well, and I also saw that like the whole sea up there around Novaya Zemlya is the most radioactive sea in the whole world. It's still radioactive because they dumped all that waste, and there's a nuclear submarine at the bottom there, and there's reactor cores and all kinds. They don't even know what's down there. The Russians were just dumping stuff down there. I'm not saying the U.S. doesn't dump stuff either, but my gosh. Earth Angel says the whole green energy agenda is an addition to, not in replacement of, corporations used Facebook to figure out what the public wants. There was never any plan to replace coal, oil, or gas. Rob Strick says the chemtrails are acting as electric receptors in the air for HAARP to work more efficiently. Aluminum nano-sized particles in the air, and we're breathing it in as well. Oh, speaking of, I've got another topic for you, Rob Strick. Now that you said that, there is a theory out there. And I haven't really talked about it, that the Earth is being microwaved by all the satellites that are around the Earth and beaming down, like with all the cell phone towers and with HAARP and stuff like that. And because it's just like using a microwave oven, it heats everything up from the inside out. And so those microwaves come down and they affect the water, and our bodies are basically all water, or a lot water. And so when those beams come down, everything that has water in it is heating up from the inside out, including people and plants and the atmosphere and everything. So basically, we're inside a microwave oven, and it's also heating up the atmosphere, and that also could contribute to the methane coming up and everything else. Does anyone have any comments on that? Over to YouTube and see the comments. Well, no one's commenting on that. Oh, I agree, Earth Angel. She says there's no such thing as clean energy on any scale that matters. I'm going to try and find an article to read to you. I'm going to try and find this, so y'all just proceed while I look for this. I found it. I'm going to paste it into my TalkShoe chat. And y'all can just click on that. And this is the article I'm going to read. This article, now I was going to share this at a different time, but I'll go ahead and share it now. This article, I think I will screen share this article. So hang on a second. I'm going to screen share again. Hang on. I have to put it in my Google tab here. Chrome tab. Yeah, we're going to read this article, and this is not a coincidence. Definitely not a coincidence. This article from Forbes came out less than 24 hours after I put up my Novaya Zemlya video. Now, if anyone has not seen that video, I recommend you go back and look at it. It's called Novaya Zemlya, the smoking gun for rapid Arctic warming. And I did all this research. It's a very long video, but it's my own theory about why the Arctic started warming so fast. And so just watch that video. So this, and I talked all about the nuclear testing that was done during the Cold War, especially by Russia, because they used the Arctic area, especially Novaya Zemlya. The whole island is a secret military base by the Russians, and they did a lot of testing of nuclear weapons above ground and underground. They performed 224 nuclear tests on that island or in that area just during the Cold War. And so all this radiation was everywhere, underground, above ground, in the ocean, this and that. And the largest nuclear bomb that was tested ever in history was right over Novaya Zemlya. I think it was in 1962. It was called the Tsar Bomba, and it was a 58 megaton nuclear bomb that went off. And so that had to have an effect. It had to have an effect, and I talked all about all of that in that video. So go back and look for that video. And so this article came out the very next day by Forbes. And it says, "Stop letting your ridiculous fears of nuclear waste kill the planet." And it's by Michael Schellenberger. He's a contributor. And if you do a little research on him, he's an up-and-coming political person. He's going to be running for governor of California. He is on the inside, and he's spoken at Dubai conferences and I don't know what all. Look at that picture. Isn't that something? I'm just going to read this article. And the caption under the picture is, starting in the early 1960s, anti-nuclear leaders targeted young mothers with pseudoscientific claims about the supposedly harmful impact of nuclear waste. Supposedly harmful. And this is such a put down, like, women are so afraid, like, we're so afraid, and there's nothing wrong. We should just accept it. We should just accept everything. Okay, going on with the article. Everybody wants to do something about nuclear waste. Nuclear plant operators and most House members want to bury it in Nevada. A bipartisan group of senators want states to compete for it, and Bill Gates and other entrepreneurs want to reuse it as fuel in next-generation reactors. Almost everybody is wrong to do so. Nuclear waste has never been a real problem. In fact, it's just the best solution to the environmental impacts from energy production. Consider, every year, the lives of 7 million people are cut short by waste products in the form of air pollution from burning biomass and fossil fuels. No nation in the world has a serious plan to prevent toxic solar panel and wind turbine waste from entering the global electronic waste stream. No way of making electricity other than nuclear power safely manages and pays for any its waste. In other words, nuclear power's waste byproducts aren't a mark against technology, they are its key selling point. By contrast, it is precisely those efforts to solve the nuclear waste non-problem that are creating real-world problems. Such efforts are expensive, unnecessary, and because they fuel support for non-nuclear energies that produce huge quantities of uncontained waste, dangerous. Your concerns about nuclear waste are ridiculous. What is usually referred to as nuclear waste is used nuclear fuel in the shape of rods about 12 feet long. For 4.5 years, the uranium atoms that comprise the fuel rods are split apart to give off the heat that turns water into steam to spin turbines to make electricity. After that, nuclear plant workers move the used fuel rods into pools of water to cool. 4 to 6 years later, nuclear plant workers, they're all dead by then, so these are new nuclear plant workers, right? Move the used fuel rods into 15-foot-tall canisters known as dry casks that weigh 100 tons or more. These cans of used fuel sit undramatically on an area about the size of a basketball court. Thanks to The Simpsons, people tend to think nuclear waste is fluorescent green or even liquid. It's not. It's a boring gray metal. How much is there? If all the nuclear waste from U.S. power plants were put on a football field, it would stack up just 50 feet high. In comparison to the waste produced by every other kind of electricity production, that quantity is close to zero. Our paranoia about nuclear waste isn't natural. There's nothing in our evolutionary past that would lead us to fear drab cans of metal. Rather, for 50 years, there's been a well-financed, psychologically sophisticated, and coordinated effort to frighten the public. Starting in the early 1960s, anti-nuclear leaders, including Ralph Nader and Jane Fonda, targeted women and mothers with pseudoscientific claims about the supposedly harmful impact of nuclear plants and their waste. Today, anti-nuclear journalists like Fred Pierce mislead the public into believing that the dangerous waste from atomic weapons production at places like the Hanford Nuclear Reservation in the state of Washington is the same as the old fuel rods from power plants. Anti-nuclear groups like Greenpeace and the Union of Concerned Citizen Scientists claim that nuclear waste could somehow be stolen or used by terrorists and turned into bombs. To appreciate just how ridiculous the latter idea is, imagine for a moment that you are an elite terrorist commando, like the kind depicted in Mission Impossible or a James Bond flick. First, you must break into a nuclear plant which is guarded by heavily armed security guards who are often, at least in the U.S., former Special Forces officers. Next, you must kill, incinerate, or otherwise incapacitate the 700 to 1,000 people who work at the plant. After that, you're going to need to quickly hoist a can of old nuclear fuel onto the back of a truck. If it can't be a pickup truck, which would be crushed under its weight, it will have to be an industrial-sized truck capable of hauling over 100 tons. Next, you have to escape. This will require driving for hours on freeways while escaping law enforcement officers who will inevitably be scrambled in response to your plant invasion. All of that is just the beginning. In order to turn the nuclear waste into a nuclear bomb, you'll need to reprocess it in a highly specialized facility, preferably underground, so as to not be detected. Inside your mountain lair, which you spent months constructing without anyone noticing, you'll use a crane to pull the heavy metal rods out of the cans and reprocess them for so long that ... Well, at this point, even Michael Bay would say the scenario was too unrealistic. What about a dirty bomb? Couldn't a terrorist break into the plant and pull some nuclear waste out of a can and attach it to a homemade explosive? But why would any terrorist do this? Any terrorist who wants to make a dirty bomb could just break into the local hospital where radioactive waste from X-rays and other medical devices is available at far lower levels of security. Save the nukes, don't move the waste. After 60 years of civilian nuclear power, we can finally declare that the top prize in the contest to safely and cheaply contain used nuclear fuel rods goes to the cans the rods are currently stored in. How do we know the cans are the best solution? Because they have proven 100% effective. The used nuclear fuel rods stored in cans have never hurt a fly, much less killed a person. By contrast, transporting cans of used nuclear waste would increase the threat to the continued operation of our life-saving nuclear plants. Anti-nuclear groups like Greenpeace and their PR agents have long planned a campaign of harassment and fear-mongering, which would result in more unnecessary and expensive security guards. Congress has repeatedly tried and failed to move the nuclear waste. Why, after $15 billion and 35 years of effort, are the cans still on site? Because of fears that the cans would leak or spill or be stolen by ISIS or somebody. Nobody's quite sure. Trying to solve this non-problem would cost an astonishing $20 billion, according to the NRC, an amount that doesn't include the additional $500 million more to operate the facility annually, or the $250 million more for monitoring after filling it up with spent fuel. By contrast, each canister costs just $500,000 to $1 million, a pittance for a plant that needs a few dozen maximum. But how long will the canisters last? I have a difficult time imagining any reasons why the current waste can storage system cannot work for decades to centuries, wrote the dean of nuclear energy bloggers Rod Adams in 2005, 13 years ago. Quote, the space taken up by waste cans from even a 60-year plant life is less than is needed for a Walmart, even without any efforts to efficiently stack the containers. All of the plants in the U.S. have dozens to hundreds of acres of available free space. The size of the workforce needed to monitor this storage area is rather small. They provide security and occasional inspections of the containers, but have few additional duties, unquote. Real threat to public safety comes from the risk that America's nuclear plants will be replaced by fossil fuels. Whenever that happens, air pollution and carbon emissions rise and people die. By letting go of our nutty fears of nuclear waste, we can save nuclear power. America's Nuclear Waste Fund, which is comprised of money paid into it by the operators of nuclear plants, still has $46 billion in it. It should be used to subsidize the continued operation of economically distressed nuclear plants and subsidize the building of new ones. If such a fund paid out 5% interest per year, an amount the IRS requires philanthropic foundations to give away annually, then $2.3 billion could flow to the distressed or new nuclear plants. That amount would be enough to keep uneconomical nuclear plants operating while creating an incentive to build new reactors. I hope you're enjoying this. When spread across the 200 terawatt hours of energy produced by the quarter of U.S. nuclear plants in the U.S. fleet, Bloomberg says are in danger of closure, $2.3 billion would provide a stipend of $11.50 MWH, enough to keep the plants alive. I guess that's megawatts per hour. A change in our view of nuclear waste must come alongside a changed view of nuclear plants generally. We need to stop seeing nuclear plants as temporary fixtures and start seeing them as the permanent backbone to our future clean energy system. Nuclear plants are functionally immortal. Existing plants can operate for 60, 80, 100 years or longer because everything inside the plant, from the control panels to the steam generators and even the reactor vessel itself, can be replaced if needed. Will the cans of old nuclear fuel stick around forever? Probably not. Sometime between 2050 and 2100, new nuclear plants, like the kind being developed by Bill Gates, will likely be able to use the so-called waste as fuel. But achieving that future will first require that we abandon our ridiculous fears and start seeing nuclear waste as the environmental blessing that it is. Michael Schellenberger, president of the Environmental Progress, Time Magazine Hero of Environment. So there you go. So by the last line, and I will substitute environmental, by achieving that future, but achieving that future will first require that we abandon our ridiculous fears and start seeing nuclear waste as the satanic blessing that it is. It's substituted environment. I thought you'd find that interesting. I was quite floored when I saw that article came out less than 24 hours after I put out my Novaya Zemlya video. That's not a coincidence. telling you that it's not a coincidence, folks. I'll share that. No links. We're getting close to 2 hours. Hop back over to YouTube and what's going on there. I've got 16 watching. Spreading rumors, I knew you would have a lot to say out of that. I knew you'd have a lot to say about that article. Mutually assured destruction, yeah. What about Helen Caldecott? You know, she did so much to spread, educate people on the horrors of nuclear power and nuclear everything. Nuclear everything. It's evil. It's evil. I call it satanic. You know, people don't like to go that far. But it's evil, and we are bound by it, and it's a whole web over the whole planet with this. It's all bound up with nuclear power. Oh yeah, and Fukushima. Fukushima is something else. It's not stopping. It's not stopping. Spreading rumors. I'm happy to see you. I'm happy to see that you are safe and well on your journeys. And make sure and drop me an email when you get a chance. If you'd like to, if anybody would like to do an interview with me and they have special knowledge or information and they would like to do an interview, you know, I would love to have you on. I would absolutely love to have you on. Just drop me an email. Go to margoshealingcorner.com and click on the Contact Margo and fill out the form and submit it, and I will get back to you because, you know, this is about us and us sharing our knowledge and our observations and our information, and you know, we're knowledgeable. We know. We are knowledgeable. We're not idiots. We're on our own. We're solely on our own. I've got one more thing I want to share. Let me see if I can find it. It was a nasty comment that I did not approve. I save all my nasty comments, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. See, I'm sharing all my secrets. I can remember when that Novaya Zemlya thing came out. That's when I got this nasty comment. It had to do with the nuclear green. Oh, I have so many nasty comments. Sad to say. But it is what it is. And I just block and delete them. You have no idea what goes on behind the scenes unless you run your own YouTube channel, folks. You have no idea. Let's see if I can find it. That's not it. Came in a couple of days after I put that video. just carry on while I'm looking for my nasty comment that I want to share. Really have to grow a thick skin to do this work. What I've learned. I had some elevator music I could play for you. I'm not finding it right now, so I'll have to share my nasty comment with you another time. I was hoping to find it now, but I'm just not. I'll continue. No, I'm not finding it. That's okay. It wasn't meant to be. So, Max Egan. No, I've not interviewed Max Egan. I've heard him on some shows. Oh, Marcia, you never see the nasty comments because I set my YouTube comments. Everything before it's published, it has to be approved by me. It has to be approved before people see it. That's why you don't see the nasty comments. I cut them out. Oh, Calmum, you're an empath and psychic too. It's hard. It's hard because, everything. I know, I am too. So, that's what I'm talking about, like that article I just read, and it's such a spin. And people who are not educated, and they think it because it appears in Forbes, they just believe it, and they just say, "Oh yeah, nuclear's good, nuclear's good." And apparently, like I said, some of the climate scientists are going along with this green nuclear and saying that it's going to be the transition energy until we can go totally off of fossil fuels. But I don't see that. I think it's totally wrong. Totally wrong. Anyway, I've got 14 watching now. Well, I've been on for 2 hours now. Let me check back over at TalkShoe and see if anyone's over there. I'm by myself. I've got Sultan Bev still over there, but you're also on YouTube. So I'll tell you what, time is short, folks. Time is short. Put up. I think I'd like to just round this out for tonight. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. I love all of you. I love you guys. And I really wish the best for everybody. This show was so different than the last show. It was, you just have to roll with it. And I'm really glad that I streamed live to YouTube because, now what's going to happen is I'll have the YouTube video and I'll have that chat that can replay. And then I have the TalkShoe video and that chat and show that can replay. And it's really cool. It's really cool. And so my plan is this, to keep doing these campfire chats with Margo every 2 weeks, all right? And it takes a lot for me to prepare for the show. It takes a lot of energy. It takes me a couple of days to recuperate afterwards. And of course, I'm doing climate casts with you in between and everything. So I'm busy. I'm a busy girl, and I have other stuff going on. Oh, thank you, Mark. You say the YouTube stream worked well. Yeah, it's great. It streams over really well, so I guess that's what we'll do. Thanks for the link. I will check into that. The Navy site where they study methyl hydrates. Okay, I will check into that. I will definitely check into that link. And the chat will save, and I can look at it again, too. So, I'm going to sign off, and I love you guys. And if anyone wants to be interviewed, if you have special information that you'd like to share, just contact me, and we'll make it happen, okay? We'll just make it happen. So, until next time, God bless. Everyone, take care. The end of life is a spiritual experience. The end of all life is totally a spiritual experience. So get right with God and Jesus. That's all I have to say. Time is short. Until next time, my name is Margo. Go in peace. I love you guys. Good night. God bless you. Good night.